It's NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here. Thanks for stopping by. We will go over all of the NFL head coach openings, and I will predict who the next head coach will be for every single team here on today's show. Before we do that, though, if you want your team to hire the right head coach, like today's video, send some good vibes your team's direction. Make sure that they do their job properly. Hit the like button. We'll get started with today's show. Let's begin with the head coach openings of what is available at this point in time. The Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, Las Vegas Raiders, and Los Angeles Chargers are all open at this point, as is the Seattle Seahawks, the Tennessee Titans, and the Washington Commanders. 7 openings at this point. Could be more potentially later, but at least for now, there is a 7 at the moment. And one job has already been filled. That is the New England Patriots, as they hired Jerod Mayo, promoted him from within to take over, replacing Bill Belichick as their new head coach. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Let's begin in Atlanta with Bill Belichick, the former New England Patriots head coach. I am predicting will be the next head coach for the Atlanta Falcons. And the reason why that I think this happens is that you have an Atlanta Falcons team that is desperate, okay? They are looking to make a splash. Arthur Blank, their owner, is not getting any younger. They've tried some things, and it hasn't really worked. That's a team that believes they are just a quarterback and head coach away. You go get Belichick, probably go get a veteran quarterback, and you're in a division that's not very good. You're right there if you're the Atlanta Falcons. Belichick, it's interesting with these job openings. Remember how much control Belichick had with the New England Patriots. The entire time he was head coach, he was also the de facto GM. And there's not very many job openings that are going to give Belichick the power that he desires, especially with the mistakes that he made when it came to decision-making within the New England Patriots organization over the last few years. Atlanta is a team that's looking to compete that will give Belichick that power that he's looking for. To me, I think that's what ultimately ends up happening. And not to mention, they'll get out the checkbook for Belichick, too. So, prediction time. Our pin comment today, will Bill Belichick be the next Falcons head coach? Weigh in, tell us what you think. Y for yes, in for no. Chime in that comment section and let me know. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time, the place to go for tickets to sporting events, concerts, theater productions, comedy shows, and more. The best seats, lowest prices, guaranteed. Here's how it works. Choose the event you'll want to go to, and they got all the prices listed so you can see for yourself. Then you pull up the seat options, and you get the visual to see if you like that view or not. If you don't worry, go find another seat. Then, from there, you're checking out, and you can use Apple Pay, Google Pay, number of easy options for you to get those tickets. And you can get them within just a matter of moments. I use Game Time. Went to go see my Kansas Jayhawks this past year. Got to see a couple different games and save some money with Game Time. Very easy, fast, and simple. You can do it too with Game Time. Save $20 off when you use the promo code NFL Chat on your first purchase. That's promo code NFL Chat to save $20 off. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Game Time, best seats, lowest prices guaranteed. Download Game Time today. Terms and conditions do apply. Number 2, the Carolina Panthers opening, and this one, I think, goes to Brian Callahan, who is the Cincinnati Bengals offensive coordinator. Now, with David Tepper, the owner of the Carolina Panthers, there has been a lot of controversy in his short tenure as the owner of this organization, and a lot of turmoil and just a lot of mistakes that have been made in how he's handled things. This is the worst opening. You have Bryce Young, who is coming off a sus rookie season, and they missed on all the draft picks they could potentially have this year by trading up for Bryce Young, and they don't have anything. They don't have anything on that roster. This is a bad job. The the candidate pool isn't nearly as good for this job as some of the others. Brian Callahan's done a decent job as OC in Cincinnati. I think this is where ultimately he ends up. Next on our list, we head to Las Vegas, and that is where the Las Vegas Raiders promote from within. Antonio Pierce, their interim head coach, lands the full-time head coach opening. I know that they've been rumored with the likes of Harbaugh and Mike Vrabel and some of these other guys, but at the end of the day, Antonio Pierce earned this job with what he did, taking over just a disastrous situation. Josh McDaniels did a horrible job, and Antonio Pierce takes over, and immediately that locker room bought in to what he was selling. He may not be a big X's and O's guy, but he's a leader, and he had that locker room won over with his game plan and his mindset and what he wanted to do with that Las Vegas Raiders team. And, you know, if you're Antonio Pierce, you can surround yourself with football people. Get the right X's and O's guys and lead the charge there with Las Vegas. I really like Antonio Pierce. I was impressed, and the Raiders would be silly not to give him the job at this point. Not to mention the whole Max Crosby thing. We heard the rumblings this week that Max Crosby doesn't want to be in Vegas unless Antonio Pierce is the head coach. And when you got players like Devontae Adams there, in addition to Crosby, you got a foundation there. Now you got to build from there. I think Pierce is the right guy for that. Let's head to Los Angeles, staying in that division. That's where we find Jim Harbaugh, the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines, heading to L.A. to be the next head coach of the Chargers. And when you look at these job openings, Jim Harbaugh pretty much can choose almost any job he wants of these openings out there. And a lot of people had connected Harbaugh to the Chicago Bears. Ultimately, they decided to keep Eberflus. And so then you go look at another team he used to play for, that being the LA Chargers, that has the best quarterback of any of these openings, and it's not even close. Justin Herbert is a franchise quarterback. He's a top 5 QB in this league. And if you recall, the first time Harbaugh coached in the NFL, the quarterback situation in San Francisco wasn't great. Got handed Alex Smith, who had struggled prior to him getting there, turned things around with Alex Smith, worked really well with Colin Kaepernick. And even in the college level, he's never got to play with an elite quarterback. J.J. McCarthy even wasn't a superstar. You hand him Justin Herbert, watch what Jim Harbaugh could potentially do. I mean, he hasn't got to coach an elite quarterback probably since Andrew Luck at Stanford. It's been that long. You get him Justin Herbert, this could be incredible and would be the best thing to ever happen to Justin Herbert. He'd be the real winner here. This would be a match made in heaven. I know that the Chargers don't really have home games there in L.A. Their ownership group has been one of the worst ownership groups in football. But you got the coach and the quarterback right. Now you figure out stuff from there. But will Jim Harbaugh still go to the NFL? He could ultimately stay at Michigan. He's interviewed for the Falcons in addition to the Chargers. What do you guys think? Will he go to the NFL or not? HY for hell yes. HN for hell no. Let us know in the comments section if you think Harbaugh will go to the league or not. Stay up to date with the latest happenings across the National Football League right here on NFL Daily as we bring you daily NFL news and rumors, live shows, watch parties, and more, including for every single NFL playoff game is broadcasted right here on our NFL Daily channel. So lock us in. Subscribe now for free on everything that's happening throughout the coaching carousel. We got you covered. Subscribe now. We're on to Seattle, and that's where we find Dan Quinn, the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator, taking the Seattle Seahawks job. The moment this job opened, I think everybody and their mother thought that Dan Quinn was going to be the next head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. We obviously know about the connections he has, being with that organization previously as defensive coordinator in the Legion of Boom days and everything. Goes on to the Atlanta Falcons, took them to a Super Bowl. Things went downhill from there, but he's had a nice rebound with Dallas as their DC and done a really good job. And you look at that Seattle Seahawks team, that is an organization that wants to get back to their identity of defense and being a defense-first football team. And the Seahawks defense has left a lot to be desired over the last couple of years. You bring in Dan Quinn, he's going to whip those guys up in shape. Sounds like a natural fit. He and John Schneider are very familiar with each other. The players like him. You hear from guys like KJ Wright and others, fits the culture. I'd be surprised if Dan Quinn's not the next Seahawks head coach. We go to Tennessee, and that's where this might be a surprise to some folks. I think they go with Bobby Slowik, the Houston Texans offensive coordinator. And you look at this Titans situation. I thought they were dumb to fire Mike Vrabel, first off. I think Vrabel's the top 5 coach in this league. And usually what happens when you have somebody that does one thing one way, you tend to go the opposite direction when you're trying to course correct. And that's what I see the Tennessee Titans doing here, is that Vrabel was such a defensive-minded, meathead football guy. I think that they're trying to go the offense route and try to get Will Levis in this offense where they need to really change the identity of this team, go the opposite direction. And that's where I think a guy like Bobby Slowik makes sense. He's done a great job with Tennessee with what he's done to develop C.J. Stroud and for that offense to take off the way it has. They're very familiar with him. They see him twice a year. Watch out. I got Bobby Slowik going to Tennessee. One more to get to before we call it a day. Give us your head coaching prediction for the Tennessee Titans. Do you agree with me that's going to be Bobby Slowik, or will it be somebody else? Weigh in the comment section. Tell me what you think. Last on our list, the Washington Commanders. They wind up with Ben Johnson, the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator. And you look at this Washington organization now with what they've done with a new ownership group, Magic Johnson and others involved. They got bright minds now in Washington. I mean, they even got Bob Myers, the former Golden State Warriors executive, involved in this coaching search. This is not Dan Snyder's Washington football team anymore. They're changing things up with how they're doing things in Washington. And I think that they go aggressive and try to find that young offensive mind. Ben Johnson, I think, is the best young offensive mind in football right now. Now you got to go get your quarterback. You get a coach and the quarterback. Washington looks like a whole different football team. And that leaves guys like Mike Vrabel and Pete Carroll on the outside of this coaching cycle. Could there come a point where Mike Vrabel and Pete Carroll get coaching jobs again? Maybe so, but at least for now, I don't see that happening this cycle. If you enjoyed today's show, which, how could you not? You got me. Like the video. We certainly appreciate it, and we'll see you next time here on NFL Daily.